The Omega Titans are at the door, threatening Earth and Colu at the same time. Can the Justice Leagues come together and figure things out? What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This is an IRA review, a show where I go over a comic book, its story, its art, give you my impressions, and let you know whether it's something you should go back to the comic book shop for or not. Make sure you subscribe to get more of these every single week. The book that I want to talk about right now is Justice League No Justice number 2, which is continuing on with the storyline from the first issue, as well as DC's Dark Knight's Metal. The Source Wall is cracked open, the Omega Titans have returned, and right now they're trying to figure out exactly how to feed on things like the seed of entropy, wisdom, wonder, and mystery. So let's dive in and see what kind of success these Justice Leagues have. Justice League No Justice number 2 continues. Scott Snyder, Joshua Williamson, and James Tynion IV's plan to redefine the DC universe as we know it. However, issue number 2 starts in a much more local and small-scale area. After destroying Brainiac on accident using her psychics, we see Amanda Waller in the Arctic Circle hunting down something else and in a confrontation verbally with General Lane, and ultimately just her reputation alone leads him to back off of their confrontation. But we do find that one person isn't necessarily swayed by her personal brand, and that's Oliver Queen's Green Arrow. Of course, we jump back over to Colu, where we see the Omega Titan bearing down on the planet in a hunt for this power that's going to energize it and allow it to take on the threats that are coming from outside the Source Wall. The one thing that our heroes run into is that they are associated with Brainiac, and the inhabitants of Colu have denounced anything associated with Brainiac. He is their enemy, one of the greatest villains to ever come from their race. And while the Justice League is going toe-to-toe with some of these things, we get great little moments like the Atom going through one of the defense robots, with Starro admiring his tactic of going straight through his brain pan. Starro being one of the best written characters in this series so far. It's just an absolutely ridiculous portrayal of a giant psychic starfish. But the real focus should be the giant tree of wisdom. It turns out that Brainiac has programmed the various nodes inside these superhero suits to attune to these specific forms of energy. So their whole thing, their whole idea, according to Martian Manhunter and Lex Luthor, who explains it to the rest of the teams, is that they need to follow along with Brainiac's plan, otherwise Earth is next. They need to jumpstart the 3 remaining cosmic trees to balance out the power of wisdom on planet Colu so that way it can avoid being consumed by the Omega Titan. The only plan that they have is one that is entrusted to them by Brainiac and being enacted and backed up by Lex Luthor, which is a really odd scenario for a lot of different heroes in this team. Jumping back to the Arctic Circle, we see a little bit more Green Arrow and Amanda Waller confrontation where she immobilizes him before explaining exactly what happened to the Source Wall. The intelligence she was looking for inside Brainiac was a way to keep herself prepared, to keep the world prepared for the threats that might come that were caused by the Justice League themselves. But now we have a situation where the Justice League, as well as a number of other team members, are off-planet on Colu, and the ones that are left behind to defend us, people like Donna Troy, Aquaman, and Nightwing, are indisposed. They're currently comatose. They're in some sort of stasis that they can't be brought out of. That only leaves somebody like Green Arrow, like Supergirl, that can kind of defend this planet in the face of these Omega Titans. And while these teams spread out, they go to the Tree of Entropy, the Tree of Wonder, the Tree of Mystery, the Tree of Wisdom, and they take their various places. They try to decipher the exact meaning of what their actions should be. And Scott Snyder, Williamson, and James Tynion break these things up into 4 different action pieces, and they all have various aspects of the story to tell. The Central Intelligence is the giant storage bank, the data banks for the planet of Colu. Entropy doesn't really have a focus on what they're planning on doing because it's kind of a chaos and consumption. The lack of mystery, because of the emphasis on wisdom, is something that they're kind of combating, as the spiritual nature of Colu has been lying dormant for quite some time. And then, of course, you've got mystery, which has no idea what to do. However, as they break their way into the dome, they see a very familiar sight. Tens of thousands of worlds that have been encapsulated by the inhabitants of planet Colu, an entire sector of space. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to free them, bring these worlds back out into the universe, and essentially create a 2601st sector. Something completely unknown, something completely different than what we've already experienced before, a complete mystery to everyone. So that's their idea to jumpstart things. The amount of chaos and calamity that Entropy has to create, that means that Beast Boy can go off the chain, becoming this giant scaled werewolf-looking thing. They just start breaking and tearing down everything that they possibly can to try and create as much chaos and consumption as they possibly can, while back on Earth, this seed that is planted on Earth is starting to activate. A lot of different things are going on. Chaos is ensuing, but there is one thing that they weren't necessarily ready for, and that's the person that Team Entropy runs into. This is Vril Dox. This is Brainiac 2.0, the copy of the original Brainiac, and he is here either as a tool of Brainiac or as a way to assist these teams in the success of their plan. And a lot of things are going to get thrown into the monkey works when it comes to issue number 3, because this is a game changer. And as far as No Justice is concerned, in issue number 2 we actually see a progression, but it's still a relatively convoluted story. There's a lot of different moving parts that have to mesh together that don't necessarily have the strongest explanations. It's hard to jam everything that you really need to know into these particular pages to create justifications, to create a way through this entire story. So it just feels like people are acting without a plan, which is in reality what they're doing. So it's a very good characterization of exactly what's happening inside the situation. As far as the art's concerned, Francis Manapul has done a fantastic job turning in some of his best art when it comes to these particular characters. I'm a really big fan of that. However, when it comes to No Justice, I'm not necessarily sure whether it's a book that I'm particularly invested in. That's the big issue that I really have. I'm going to have to wait till I see issue number 3, and then of course at that point in time I might as well stick around for issue number 4, but I want to know what you guys think about issue number 2 and exactly where the No Justice storyline is going and what it means for the Justice League in the future. So hit me up in the comments down below and we can start that conversation. As always, if you like what you see, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.